Good day, everybody. How's it going out there? Sorry this video is a little bit late, but I was supposed to record it yesterday, but I was angry. And as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title of this video, it's going to be one where I get a little ranty at the end, and I might get a little ranty during it. I'll try to have some fun along the way, but it ends on a very, very serious note. And I will give sort of I won't say a trigger warning, but a content warning at the end when we get close to that, so that if you don't want to be as stressed as I was yesterday, we can do that. Now, am I stressed because some guy misdefined furry? No. Just as a spoiler, it's something a lot more serious, but we'll get to that. I'm burying the lead. That's a journalistic no-no, but we have to talk about for people who don't know what's going on. The cat pans are back. In December of 2021, there was a meeting, and that meeting had a parent who showed up who was concerned about rumors about a cat pan, and how students were requesting a cat pan in the school restrooms. That video went viral in late January, where that school board meeting video was released all over the internet, and the media basically was all over that story, and it was all over the place. You couldn't throw a stone in the furry news world and not hit it. We covered it here. It's up there. But basically, the rumor was substantiated as a rumor. It's not proven otherwise, and we'll go over the Snopes article later to show that. And that Snopes article was released in February. So it was a little shocking to most furries that this has come up again. The cat crap we thought was buried into the sands has risen to the surface and stank like cat litter. Only cat litter can stank. Okay. So, but this time it's not just a pedestrian, random citizen at a school board meeting, because y'all know school board meetings get crazy. Okay. All school board meetings get crazy. If you've ever attended a school board meeting, it can get a little weird. But this was on the floor of the Nebraskan Senate, right? And a Nebraskan senator of District 23 decided to talk about the furries. This time, I will be doing a live analysis / reaction of that video instead of reading it just from a thing. Because this is a senator, and when a politician speaks, it's fair use. When a citizen speaks, it's not quite as fair use as that, and I didn't want to risk anything. But because this person is a person of power, I have the right to criticize. And criticize we shall. Buckle up, boys and girls. Here we go.
It's something that kind of took me back just a little bit, and I'm a little shocked, I guess is what I would put it.
The weirdest thing is that they have the similar thing. It's like, I heard something and I was shocked, or I heard something and I was furious, right? I was shocked and appalled and furious, and it's like they start with the shock, right? Okay, so here we go. What were you shocked by?
It's called something called furries. If you don't know what furries are, it's where school children dress up as animals, cats or dogs, during the school day. They meow and they bark, and they interact with their school, with the teachers and that in this fashion.
That was his definition of furries, everybody. In my 10 years of being a furry fan, that is the worst definition of furry I've ever heard. Ever. And I've heard a lot of them. Cats and dogs? Only cats and dogs, really? I'm a kangaroo, sir. Thank you very much. And they only speaks and barks and meows? No, some of us speak English. Some of us speak Portuguese. Like, hey, it's Crash. If you don't know Crash, he's a Brazilian furry, and he speaks the Portuguese. He speaks Portuguese, and he has a really high voice. When he speaks in English, he has a high voice, and he talks and he answers. He's very high energy. I can't keep on top. But, we have furries all over the world, and they speak multiple languages. In fact, many of them speak better than most politicians do these days, as we're going to come to find out later on. Spoiler alert. Anyways, now that you flubbed the definition of a furry, let's go on.
And now schools are wanting to put litter boxes in the schools for these children to use. How is this sanitary?
It's not. That's why they're not doing it.
I'm going to have a discussion with CEO Smith about this.
Why didn't you do that before you got on the House floor? Or Senate floor, I'm sorry, Senator.
This is something I think, how can schools allow this to happen?
They're not.
I think it's very disruptive within the school system. I think it's very disruptive within the class.
Descriptive? What is descriptive? I think you meant destructive?
I even heard from one person here recently, he said that a student identified as a cat and wanted a litter box. And the school didn't provide the litter box, so the student went ahead and defecated on the floor.
That's the first I'm hearing about that one. I'll give the lady in Michigan this. She didn't go that far with the shock value. Like the one whoever told him the rumor, by the way, really laid in the shock value there. Holy cow, man. Shocked and appalled. Defecation in schools? I mean, if you talk to a kindergarten teacher, I'm sure she'll tell you, yeah, that happens. It's part of our job to have to deal with kids being like not potty trained and stuff like that. It is quite shocking what kindergarten teachers have to deal with, for sure. But obviously that's not what he's saying. But those kindergarten teachers make probably like pintons of what you make as a state senator. But shocking.
Really?
That's so fake. Really? Like, that is the fakest, enunciation I've ever heard in my life. Oh, well, let's go. So,
school administrators, what is going on? Nebraska Department of Education, what is going on? State Board of Education, what's going on?
If anything, at least this is a sort of a breath of fresh air, because I like his enunciation and charisma, at least. I like his voice is so easy to do, too. All you gotta do is sit back and roll back your enunciation a little bit, slow it down, and just enunciate what's going on. So, excuse me while I borrow your voice for a minute, Senator. I need to reestablish where we are right now. What the senator is asking the education boards is, hey. I'll say, hey, what's going on? A lot of you are probably groaning right now and rolling your eyes and going, that's a dated reference. Put a pin on that for just a second. Well, let's continue with the senator here. Oh, and by the way, you just got the attention. He just asked 3 rhetorical questions in a row, asking 3 different departments of education within the state of Nebraska to pay attention to what he's saying because he's very concerned. So, Senator, I will implore you, now that you have all their attention, please, make sure your next statement is as grammatically concise and precise as possible.
If some kids can't wear American flag to walk through the school on their shirt,
What did he just say? What was that?
if some kids can't wear American flag to walk through the school on their shirt,
Walk through the school on their shirt? Is that what he just said? Walk through the school on their shirt? How? Like, what? Like, I can't. I gotta hear it again.
If some kids can't wear American flag to walk through the school on their shirt?
If some kids can't walk through the American flag on their school on their shirt? So, remember when you were in elementary school and you say something 5 times fast? Nebraskan kids in Nebraskan schools, first off, you shouldn't probably be watching this. Second off, so go away, especially if you're under age 13, COPPA. You know, this isn't for kids, this is for people who are mature, okay? Try saying that 1 time fast. I can't even say it 1 time slow. If America walked through their school on their shirt, let's hear it one more time. Let's hear it one more time.
If some kids can't wear American flag to walk through the school on their shirt?
If some kid can't walk through with American flag on the school on their shirt, I think it's like to the Nebraskan school boards. What's going on? Like, that is not a sentence. Like, here's the thing. I had to transcribe this in an article in Playwright. And by the way, the article is just basically bare facts, and it's just basically transcription. It's sort of like how I handled the cat pan article. And you can see that one in the description below. I had to transcribe that. And I literally had to listen to it 6 times at least. And then read the sentence back, and the grammar thing is going, "What are you doing? This is nuts!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Let me just make it all right." Bracket, SIC, bracket. There we go. Okay. It is the worst sentence I've ever had to transcribe in the thing. But anyways, walk it through the school on their shirt. Which they should probably be doing that with their shoes, but you know. Furries are the problem. Anyways, as you were, Senator, let me stop hounding you and barking at you woof, woof, for your bad grammar. I mean, you really slaughtered that sentence, sir. It was basically 2 sentences. He went from 3 questions, and he probably started to question, well, if, and then he tried to make a declarative sentence, and the 2 sentences he wanted to say, they kind of got mixed up in his head. I can understand. It's like, if they can walk through, if students are allowed to do this kind of stuff, then why can't they do this, right? That's the first sentence, and the other one was, yet, he almost said, yet American kids can't walk through an American school with an American flag on their shirt, or something like that. He kind of got the 2 sentences mixed up in his head. So it happens. It happens to the best of us. But, of course, he doesn't draw attention to that, but that's my job. Anyways, continue on, Senator.
And you keep them out of school? And you kick them out of school, but it's okay if they wear a cat costume?
So, what he was saying is that, what he meant to say here, and I'll rephrase what the second part was, a kid cannot wear an American flag school, or an American, he's even got me messed up now. A kid can't walk through an American school with an American flag on their shirt without getting kicked out. Okay, that's what he's saying. And he's saying, oh, okay, because furries exist, so that's kind of weird, right?
You have a litter box for them, and that's fine? I don't think so.
All right, and just to be kind, I will let you hear that whole thing without me interrupting, so that way you can kind of try to understand it, because it's going to be important later on when we get to the next part.
Through the school on their shirt, and you keep them out of school, and you kick them out of school, but it's okay if they wear a cat costume. You have a litter box for them, and that's fine. I don't think so.
I don't think so. All right, so a lot to unpack, but obviously that's not the definition of a furry and what he led with. And I will note that within the same session, He did apologize because he later found out from other colleagues of his that these were internet rumors that were being spread about and misinformation that was being spread about. But as I said, he said, I'm going to be contacting these school people about this cat pan issue. And it's like, then do that before you talk about it on the floor, right? Communicate with people before you use the public platform to bring forth a problem or an issue. You know what kind of politicians do that kind of thing? Cowardly ones, right? I'm going to do this thing for you. I'm doing my job. We'll go over that in a bit. But anyways, so that's the video of that guy. And so obviously many people have debunked the whole cat pan thing. So I'm going to reduce this thing. This video was brought to you by Heartland Signal. And by the way, they even... Heartland Signal here provided this on Twitter. Their response, by the way, was the most pandering thing I've ever seen to furries ever by journalists. Hey there, we're Heartland Signal. We shine a light on local elected officials like Ben Boltzmann, and sometimes they talk about furries. Support our work and give us... And sometimes they talk about furries. Support our work and give us a follow. Oh, actually, I misread that the first time I read it, but... Oh, yay! Newspapers are using furries as a clickbait tool. Hooray! Isn't that new? Isn't that so new? But anyways, that was that. The second thing here is obviously the Snopes article, which was released after the Michigan lady said, after the first video that we did. And it obviously says, did Michigan schools install kitty litters in the bathrooms? Unproven. So basically, they can't prove one way or the other, right? It's a salacious rumor. To find evidence of that, and basically every school person's denying that ever something like that happened, but obviously, it's hearsay on both ends. But it's kind of one of those things that are so shocking because it's like you should have photo evidence or video of it. And here's the thing, here's the thing that I think it's just flat out false, and it's like that it can't just be unproven, that it's got to be false. And the reason I say that it's got to be false and not just unproven is because every freaking kid has a cell phone these days. You think some little kid is gonna see a cat pan in the bathroom and not take a video of it? You really think that's gonna happen? People can't even talk about furries on the Senate floor without the video getting out these days. You think a secret cat pan is going to be installed and people aren't going to know about it in an American school where every kid has a smartphone? Are you crazy? Are you nuts? Anyways, that's why even if Snopes has the ethical duty to say it's unproven, I'm going to go further and go, yeah, no. If it happened, there'd be photos. It's sort of like that New Jersey thing that I wrote an article about a while ago, but we won't go into that because that's not for this video. So here's where most videos would stop. This cat pan thing is ridiculous. The definition of furries was ridiculous. This was silly. The guy was silly. This was stupid. The guy was stupid. Those kind of things. I'm sorry I got to tuck it in for a bit because this is a long one, and my hair, my fuzz likes to get a little unraveled a bit. But we got a ways to go yet. Part 2. But here at Review, that we cover deeper. We go deeper. And as I said, I got this video out a day late because when I dug deeper, I got really frustrated. I was angry. I was so angry that my pulse was going and I was going oh my God, are you kidding me? And it wasn't about any of that, right? Usually that video is enough to get most furries angry. It takes something special to get me going, okay? It takes me something special to get me going, but once I'm there, I'm there. And it's like, and I was like, I can't record feeling this. So here's part 2. Remember that thing he said with the American school on the shirt thing, the thing he flubbed? So basically what he was talking about was another thing. And like I think most furries, like myself, going, well, this first part of his little diatribe is unproven and a salacious rumor, So that second part's got to be kind of a salacious rumor too, moral outrage about a school saying no to an American flag shirt. How unpatriotic, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. What I ended up finding out is that one was actually true. So I asked the question, was that one true? And I had an idea about how to take this and how to explain this, if it was true or false. If it was false, if the American flag wearing kid getting kicked out of the school was false, what I would say is, well, it just proves that this guy can't be trusted at all, and that he is just, a Republican being salacious and rumor mongering and not really contributing any solutions to problems, just presenting weird things and quandaries and frustrations on the floor of the Senate without providing or understanding or comprehending issues first. But what if it was true? Well, if it was true, which by the way it is, which I was surprised by, but it is with an asterisk. We'll go over the asterisk in a moment. If it was true, then the salacious rumor about the cat pans draws attention away from that other thing he's frustrated about, which is the kid getting kicked out of the school for wearing a shirt. So this was actually an incident a while ago, and I actually did a Snopes lookup of that too, and I was able to find that this is a true issue that happened. School bans U.S. flag t-shirts on Cinco de Mayo. And a federal court upheld the ruling of the school to not allow it. So the claim is that a federal court upheld a ruling that the school officials acted correctly in requiring students to remove clothing featuring the U.S. flag designs on Cinco de Mayo, and the answer was true. Now that's very unpatriotic. How dare you disgrace the flag like that? We live in America. You should want to wear it all the time. But here's where the asterisk comes in. And when he claimed that they were kicked out, that's not what this is saying. You have to read more into the details. Okay? So the origin. In May of 2009, a Cinco de Mayo event at Live Oak High School, a school with a history of violence and gang issues in Morgan Hill, California, sparked a clash between white school students and students of Mexican descent. And the following year, 5 non-Mexican Live Oak students chose to attend school on Cinco de Mayo wearing t-shirts and bandanas representing the U.S. flag. So it goes on a bit to say that these 5 non-Mexican, non-Hispanic students basically used the American flag as a means to sort of grief these other students of theirs, using the flag as sort of a shield to bully these things, and it goes into a news coverage of that. And basically there was violence and there was frustration. So the school board got together and said, well, on Cinco de Mayo, we're going to no longer allow for these American flag shirts and bandanas because of what happened and the violence that occurred on Cinco de Mayo of 2009. So in Cinco de Mayo 2010, when a student tried to do it again, basically what ended up happening is the school said, hey, we made a rule about this because we knew what happened last year. We don't want a Cinco de Mayo, escalation part 2, right? And since I'm sort of paraphrasing, I can actually get rid of that. But in essence, what ended up happening is that the school person went up to the kid and kids. I think there was fewer probably this year than the prior year, but basically they went up to those students and said, hey, we made a rule about this because we know last year this kind of thing escalated in violence. So to not cause further escalations like happened last year, we asked that people didn't wear those patriotic things on Cinco de Mayo so that our students of Mexican heritage can not feel like they're being bullied by the American flag, but that these Caucasian students would use the American flag to bully these students. And that student was frustrated, but they were given a choice. They weren't kicked out, they were given a choice. They could remove the American bandana and flip the shirt inside out, or they could go home and have an excused absence. No punishment, No suspension. No questions. You have a choice. Follow the code that we resolved and hide those American flags on your wardrobe for this day and this day only, for Cinco de Mayo. Or go home and be a proud American, but go ahead and hold your head up high and walk home, and we won't punish you for it at all. You can celebrate your pride, but we don't want to have an escalation happening in this school. So no one was kicked out, as it were. So even though the Snopes thing said that this issue actually happened, it didn't happen where somebody was kicked out. But that might be, the senator from Nebraska may argue that that's semantics, but I think it's a pretty big distinction. There was no punishment. And the student, of course, instead of going, hey, well, they let me off pretty easy, they decided to sue the school for giving them that ultimatum, right? Not the ultimatum, but like the choice, right? Giving them that choice. Like, you had no right to give me that choice. I should have been able to stay with the American shirt on, even though it violated the school code. And, because I have freedom of speech, right? So, the courts upheld that the school had the right to make those decisions and to make that decision. And that is the thing that he is upset about. Let's note here. Remember when I told you to put a pin on it? Hey, remember this? Remember this, babies? Remember this? This guy, when I told you to put a pin on this guy here and how dated of a reference that was? This video, hey, I said, hey. I said, hey! Oh, what's going on? You remember that? That was released, and the abridged version of this thing that ended up going viral. It was actually a longer video that included like the intro and the outro to the song. Was released in 2007, and then basically this guy came along and cut it short, and basically just included the big beat part, right? Yeah, that, right? Now, according to people, this account actually is very inactive, so like they're not going to probably file a copyright claim, but I'm not going to risk it. This thing that you remember, the He-Man meme, was released in November 7, 2010. So this incident where the student was sent home happened on Cinco de Mayo 2010. It happened before this video, guys. So the thing that he is upset about, showing that the fabric of America is being destroyed because a person was wearing an American flag outside of the school district, happened before the He-Man video. And on the internet, that's ancient. That's ancient history, right? That's a long time ago. So, yeah. So even that part where he grammatically flubbed it, he also kind of historically flubbed it. It also kind of shows his priorities. Like, this story upset him. It upset him so much that he remembered it for 11 years. Or he heard about it within the last few things and didn't realize it was 11 years ago. I mean, he might not have looked things up. But let's say that that's the case, that he knew that this story's been a bee in his bonnet for the last 11 years. Then I asked the third question. And the third question was, is there anything in Nebraska? Oh, wait, first thing, let's also go over this a little bit. This guy here is a Nebraskan State Senator, right? So he's supposed to be worried and concerned about things that are happening in the state of Nebraska. As we noted in the article just earlier, this happened in California, okay? This map, this Google map, shows you how far the school in question that happened on the Cinco de Mayo incident is from the state senator's district in Nebraska. 1,600 miles. I think the senator is veering a little off course and really had this concern about what's happening in California really has no business in the state function of Nebraska. And so really it is outside of his scope. You're a little outside your lane, sir. Get back to your station. Man, you did like an Oregon Trail travel to get to that grievance that you were worried about. Holy cow. So looking at this map, I asked a simple question to myself. Given date and distance, is there something in the American school system that he should have remembered rather than be a student inconveniently being asked not to wear an American flag for one day based upon a recent historical issue that happened at that school, right? That happened on Cinco de Mayo at that school, that caused frustration and unneeded unrest in the school body. Is there something that he shouldn't be just backseat driving, but he should be in the driver's seat? And I'll give him this. It has to happen after the He-Man video. Okay? It has to happen after this. Something bad that happened in a Nebraskan school that is closer to home that should have shocked him more than this flag incident or even the furry incident. And so I asked myself if there is something that should have been more attuned to the needs of Nebraskans than to Californians. And I will say this. If you are a person who is easily stressed or frustrated or don't want to deal with negative feelings and feelings of discontent and frustration and anger and shock and appalling and you don't want to feel like throwing something against a wall, I suggest you stop now. I will even put up the end card for you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week. All right? Thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate you watching so far. Because we're about to go down a very, very dark rabbit hole. And the jokes and the funniness just sort of stop from here. All right? All right. Now, as I said, funny stuff stops. You can go away now. So all I can say is, I pray every single day. Anyways. So, what are horrible things that happen in American schools? And any of you with a heart or with any knowledge base whatsoever of American politics and current social issues and problems, first thing that's going to come to your mind is gun violence, school shootings. And that was the first thing that came to my mind. So I looked up school shooting Nebraska, and I thought to myself, Nebraska is a small state and shouldn't have any big issues with school violence and gun violence in schools. Shouldn't really be too big of a thing. Maybe, that doesn't happen in Nebraska. And so it's fine for, this guy to talk about a school in California all that way away. Maybe that's fine. But lo and behold, the year after this whole flag incident that we're talking about here, there was another incident. And we're going to read about that incident now in the state of Nebraska. Omaha High School shooting kills Millard South assistant principal. Omaha police say a 17-year-old walked into Millard South High School and opened fire, wounding 2 administrators before leaving the school and fatally shooting himself. 58-year-old assistant principal Vicki Casper died from her wounds Wednesday night at Creighton Medical Center. Principal Curtis Case was listed in serious condition. Police Chief Alex Hayes says the gunman, Robert Butler Jr., is the son of an Omaha police detective. Butler Jr. was a student in Lincoln before moving to Omaha last fall. He entered Millard South High School at about 12:50 p.m. Central Time, opening fire on the administrators. No students were injured during the shooting. The school was locked down for several hours before students were released in groups. Parents and family members had gathered outside the school, waiting for their children. When I read that, there was a fury in me that I could not contain. I could not even fathom about it. And even worse, I wanted to check the proximity to the senators' district, because the senators, there's multiple new Nebraskan senators. And they are found within different districts of each other. Certainly a lot closer than the 1,600 miles. But how close? 10 miles. 10 miles. 10 miles. Here's a photo of District 23, where Bruce Bostelman, the man who is concerned about furries and California students not being able to display American flags on their shirts for one day of the school year, the eastern side of his district is 10 miles west of Millard South High School, where an incident occurred in 2011 where an administrator died and another was critically wounded. They recovered, thankfully. And this senator of their state couldn't even be bothered to remember that incident. An incident that is far more heinous, far more destructive, far more disruptive than anybody shitting on a floor. I feel really bad for the people who work in the administrations of Nebraska. They have to feel like they are at war. Their students shoot them, and their state senators don't even remember. To me, this would be like a man from the Bronx going, "Hey, did you hear? Hey, you buddy, did you hear about that thing that happened at the Lake High School thingy in the frickin' California where they couldn't wear an American flag and they were kicked out of the school for that? That's the worst act of terrorism I ever saw." I would look at the guy and go, "You live in the Bronx. You have a view of Manhattan, don't you? Seriously. Or let me scratch that. Let me back up a little bit. Really? The problem with the Republican Party as it stands in its modern iteration is it cares more about the cloth of the country than the blood that runs it. And this little thing, this surface level, furry little cat litter crap, has revealed that fact to the American people harder than anything. And it certainly revealed it to the people of Nebraska. The news media said that this guy, Mr. Old Woolly Bear Mustache, Bruce Bostelman, this guy here, well, he made a simple mistake and he apologizes. I apologize to those furry people. About making that false statement about the cat pans. I was not in my right mind. No, you weren't. Because you forgot your neighbors, sir. The whole foundation of the Republican Party was supposed to be to care about the local people, to not give a crap about what's going on 5 freaking states down, to not go on an Oregon Trail thing, getting angry about some stupid thing happening in California. Sir, if you want to go to California and complain about it, go move there and freaking run for office there, and then you can freaking backyard quarterback the frickin' school people there and their administrators. Your administrators at your school need you here now. In Nebraska. They need you to remember what happened to the people in Millard South. They need you to remember that because you've clearly forgotten. This cat pan crap is not the worst thing happening in American schools today. It is not. And to say that that's the worst thing happening in American schools is to turn a blind eye to the thing that's really happening in American schools. School administrators feel like they're at war every day, and they're sometimes literally taking bullets, and you can't even be bothered. Instead, you don't even do your research and due diligence. You don't even do your research and due diligence before you start putting your school administrators on notice. Those same kind of school administrators who were probably friends and colleagues of Ms. Vicky Casper. And I hope she's a friendly ghost. And I hope she rests well. Because her soul should rest in peace. And I'm sorry to bring her up. But you owe her family an apology. You don't owe furries an apology. You owe her an apology. You owe that lady's family an apology. Rest her soul. You owe Curtis Case, who is still alive and kicking today, thankfully, by the grace of God. You owe him an apology. And you certainly owe everybody in Millard South an apology. If you want forgiveness for what you did on the Senate floor in Nebraska today, sir, I will only accept it if you drive down that 10 miles, not asking much, and go to Millard South, call an assembly, and apologize before students and teachers and staff for your behavior on the Senate floor, for not remembering what happened to their school 10 years ago, and not remembering the pain and the blood and the screaming and the destruction that happened in that school. This is a real thing that happened. It is not a fake piece of crap news that you're reading off of Facebook. These people suffered. They died. They blood, sweat, and tears turned into literal blood. On the floor, sir. Blood on the floor. You have desecrated your Senate floor by bearing false witness to furries, by bearing false witness to rumors. I have to ask the school systems, what is going on? Ring this man's... No violence. Get with this senator right now, and you demand an apology. We cannot let this stand. He needs to apologize for what he's done. He needs to apologize. He needs to show students that adults make mistakes and that forgiveness demands repentance. Let me say that for you again, because that is the message of Christ that you guys have perverted for the last century. Forgiveness requires repentance. And the only repentance here is you apologizing publicly with kids and adults watching what you did on that Senate floor. You forgot. You forgot the lives that were lost in 2011. You forgot the lives that were lost in your own backyard. And instead is worrying about the destruction and decay of our country from a small little non-issue incident that occurred 1,600 miles away from you. Get back to your station, sir. Know your role in the American coming. Because here's the thing. The Republican Party and the idea of our Constitution is that you have a station, you man that station, and you do the right things. The only time I want to hear California in your mouth is dealing with those tech bros who are basically harassing your farmers, that they have to go through them to repair their own tractors. You want to help the people in today in your constituency? You got a right to repair. It's all over the place. There are farmers out there chomping at the bit. Right to repair. Right to repair. We own the machines don't own us. We own the machines don't own us. We are not slaves of the machine. I'm a person who is a grandson of a farmer, and I have a bachelor's of science and a computer science degree. So I can feel that. These arrogant little coders in frickin' California going, well, we know what we're doing and you don't, so you'll never understand, you stupid, dumb redneck. So we're gonna come back. Like, seriously, That's the thing that should frustrate you more about California than somebody given the option to leave because they were wearing an American shirt for one day of the year. But the long and the short of it is this. The only way to make things right is to do things right. And sir, you need to do things right. And your school board needs to demand more of you as as a representative, as their coach, as their leader. You should not be throwing them under the bus because you couldn't be bothered to look up if a rumor was true or not. And you should really be disturbed that you didn't remember that there was a school shooting in your neighborhood. And that is far more disturbing than anything you made up on the Senate floor and any outrage that you've found on your social media. Us furries, and I will end on this. Us furries always get told that we are the ones that are living in a fantasy world. Living in a world where we're being escapist and being escapist from our duties, and we're being silly and we're being escapist and we're not looking at the reality in front of our face. But I can say for today that when it comes to reality and looking at it in the face and confronting it, it's not the furries that are neglecting their duties today. Thank you, Senator, for your time if you watch this. Sorry I got upset, but this is actually frustrating. It's not a really. It's a yeah, really. Get back to your station, do better for your constituency, or get out. I don't care which. But I would rather you repent and show kids how it's done. That in America, if we make a mistake, we own that mistake and we move forward. Right to repair, sir. Go for it. Come on. You can do it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Kick that like. Fuck that shit. Do it. Algorithms crap is. I'm going to even cut that out. That's it for tonight. Thank you.